Hello, everyone. Welcome to Voiceover Casting Corner. My name is Kelly Moshinsky. I am the owner and head of casting here at The Voicecaster.
And I'm Kathryn Horan. I'm the Senior Casting Director at The Voicecaster.
We are so excited to be here on our second Tuesday of the month doing this live with you guys. So today we are going to be talking about the hard truths with a career in voiceover. So many things that we're going to discuss, things that are talked about, as well as a lot of things that really aren't talked about. And just kind of try to give you as much information as we can so that you can approach this realistically is the big thing.
So I understand voiceover is really exciting. It's really cool. There are really so many things you can do in voiceover, from the different avenues you can take, from commercials to animation, video games, audiobooks. There's so much here. And in some ways, it can seem like it might be easier than other things like on camera, because a lot of it you can do from home. You can do it in your pajamas. You're not spending hours all day on set. But there is more to it than that. It's not just easy peasy. It's not just, talking into a microphone or just reading copy. There's more to it than just having a great voice. We have people that call us all the time. Hey, I was in the grocery store and the cashier said I had a really good voice and I should get into voiceover. We hear that all the time, similar stories. And there's a really great metaphor I've been hearing a lot lately. And it's, you could have the best guitar, the most expensive guitar. You could have Eric Clapton's guitar, but unless you know how to use it, it's just an art piece. So it's kind of like that with voiceover too, and how to use your voice. So we're going to get into some of these things.
Yep. Yeah, I love that, because it's like when we get the phone calls and they're like, hey, I have this great voice. Can you hire me for something? It's like they don't even ask about voiceover sometimes and how to get into it. They're just like, I have a good voice. Can you use me? That's like me using my Eric Clapton guitar, going up to a band saying, hey, I have this amazing guitar. Let me join your band. And it's like, no, but do you know what to do with it? Same thing. It's so true. So hard truth number one is that talent alone is not enough. So say you do have your guitar, you have your instrument, you have this amazing voice, you just have a voice, but you know how to use it. Using your voice is obviously a huge thing, but it is all about the acting. It's all about the acting side. So you have to be coming from somewhere. You have to be connected to the copy. You're not just reading with a great voice. There is a lot more to it.
Yeah. And so I really see actors that succeed the most in this are ones that have that acting background, whether it's coming from theater or on camera stuff. They've got that training. And then, because, different types of acting require slightly different skills, but the base of it is still the same. So having that acting foundation is huge, and that'll set you head and shoulders above a lot of the other people out there. And then, breaking down copy is very important. Most people don't just pick up a script and read it and it's perfect. They are able to find those nuances, words that you want to hit with your voice a little harder. They find those transition moments, words that you want to play off each other. They know, problem versus solution, all these things that we go over, kind of voiceover 101. And all of that is really important. It's more than just having a great, deep, resonant voice, or the every girl next door type thing that people might be going for. You've got to know how to make the copy come alive, come off the page, and sound natural, like you are a real person talking to another real person. And that's a lot harder than it sounds like.
Yeah. And just kind of adding on to that as well is like it's also, once you get all of that, then it's also making the connections with people, being a good person to work with, and being directable and being open to playing and trying new things. It's not just about the voice, which is probably the most common myth. Like, oh, I have a great voice, I can do voiceover. There is so much more to it.
Exactly.
All right. So hard truth number two is that rejection is constant. And maybe we don't want to call it rejection. Kathryn and I were on a panel last year, and it was a great topic because it was, you weren't rejected, you just weren't selected. And that's a great way to look at it, because you didn't lose a job, you just didn't get a job that you auditioned for. You didn't have the job in the first place, right? So, it really is one of those things where if you are booking 1 out of 100 things that you audition for, you're doing well. So think about that. You have to get no 99 times before you get a yes.
Yeah. And I think, Kelly, you've said this before, really your job is to audition. It's not booking things, it's auditioning is really, if you kind of think about it that way, it kind of.
And then hopefully you get booked and you get the payout, but that payout is basically for all of those auditions and all the prep work that you did to get to that booking.
Yeah.
People think that they can just audition for things and be booking every other job, and it just doesn't work that way. Yeah. Even the most successful people always wish that they were booking more, because the ratio just isn't what people want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so much of what goes on in who gets chosen is stuff that people don't think about either. Going back to I've got a really good voice. Well, again, that's only half the battle, because so much of who gets chosen for a job, it's not about, you could be the best actor in the world, and you might not book something because they went with the guy that did the scratch track because they listened to that so many times they fell in love with it. There's nothing you can do about that, or maybe you sound too much like the producer's ex-wife, so he doesn't like that. Again, you could be the best actor in the world. You would have no idea about that. There's nothing you can do about that. So much of this is stuff that's out of your hands, and all you can do is just do the best job you can do and hope that resonates with the people on the other side who are listening to you. So there's a lot of those kinds of things you also have to keep in consideration. So don't beat yourself up. It's not, there's nothing you could have done. There's no way you could know all the different scenarios or,
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just about, you audition, you do your best job, on to the next. Audition, do the best job you can, on to the next. And then you just hope that it eventually does go through and you get booked.
And on the reverse side of that, it also happens where you might get a job randomly. So we've actually had it where it's like we submit 10 or 15 people, and then the client is like, they're all great, let's just go with the first one on the link. Yep. So it's like, yeah, you got the job, but it was a total just up in the air.
We did a casting the other week where they just cast off demos. So nobody auditioned for it. We just submitted demos that fit the voice reference. And the guy that booked it was like, oh, this is great. I didn't even know I was up for this job. So those are kind of fun too, because you didn't have to do anything. We just call you up and go, hey, can you come in on Thursday at 3:00?
Yep. So yeah, he was like, I'm so glad my demo is still working for me. And it's like, yeah, it is a great tool to have. You have to have a demo. So yeah, it's, there are a lot of ways to just kind of shift your mindset a little bit around being rejected. As an actor, you have to have thick skin. It's like you have to kind of be tough about it. And the biggest thing is not taking it personally. I think that's the number one thing, is you can't let that ruin your confidence, because it is the most confident people that I find book the jobs. It's like once they have that confidence in like, yes, this job is mine, I was perfect for this, those are the jobs that they book. And then what happens when you book? You get more confident, and then you continue booking. But as soon as you're not booking, then that confidence level goes down and it's harder to book another job. So be confident in yourself, in your abilities, and try not to take any of it personally.
And know that there's a lot of ebb and flow with this as well. We'll find people that get really hot. They'll get on a booking streak and they're booking everything. And then all of a sudden it stops. And then some time goes by and then they're hot again. So keep that in mind too. It's just the nature of the business, or, or maybe you book a campaign. Just keep that in mind too. Every campaign ends eventually. So you might have this nice cushy job for 3 or 4 years, and then suddenly it's gone. Nothing you did wrong, just the producers are going in a different direction now because it's time to change things up. So always keep those kinds of things in mind too.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so there's just so many things where it's like you just can't beat yourself up about it, and it's like there are a lot of things happening in the background that you don't see, that you have no idea about. And I had a producer a few years ago tell me that about 40% of what they put out to casting, so that means things that you are auditioning for, about 40% don't even ever get produced. So that's potentially 40% of your auditions that go to no one. It's not just you not getting them. Literally no one is getting them. So something to think about.
I guess that kind of works us into our hard truth number 3, because it is a business. At the end of the day, it's show business. It's not just an art. So one good way to think about your voiceover career is think of it like this is your small business. You are an entrepreneur. So it's not just the creative side. I mean, it's nice when you get those auditions where you're creating characters and, you can really sink your teeth into it, but it's more than just that. You also have to think about the business side of things too. So get familiar with how to create a business plan, or, have a way to keep track of money coming in, money going out, just, like you would for anything, so what you've got in the bank, also for taxes. Not every job is going to be a W-2. So if you got to pay taxes on things at the end of the year, make sure you've got some money stashed away so that when that tax bill comes around, you're not shocked when you owe thousands of dollars. But think that too, it is a business. And so kind of be your own advocate and go out there and get yourself work. Don't just sit around and wait for auditions to come to you. You have to be the one going out there and doing some of that work as well. So think about ways that you can reach out to ad agencies or producers or recording studios. Get your demo out there to other casting houses and casting directors, because you never know where that job's going to come from. And there's so many people that book jobs just by reaching out to different businesses, to different companies, instead of waiting for something to come to you. So that can be a good way while you're, especially if you don't have an agent yet, that can be a great way to do auditions and to get some work on the side.
Yep. And I'll add on to that too. Also other actors. It's like we had somebody in our membership group who was just saying, like, another actor actually referred them to their client because that person wasn't right for it, but they knew somebody else who was. So even other actors that you get to know will refer you to jobs. I've had people email us when we send out a casting and be like, oh, I'm going to audition for this, but so-and-so would be perfect for it. And they're like referring their friends, their competition. But that's one of the things is like that kind of stuff, it comes back around. It's like if you see something that's perfect for a friend of yours, great. See if you can refer them to that job. That kind of stuff really does, come back around. So, yeah. And it's all about relationships. It's you have to be marketing yourself. You have to be investing in yourself. That's probably the hardest thing. People think that, again, I have a great voice. I can just start doing this and start making money. And it's like, it does not work that way. The investment that you put in, it's you'll hopefully get that back times a lot. It's like if you are willing to put in the investment in both financial and time, you have to get the training, you have to get the demo, you have to do the networking, the direct marketing, looking for agents, and none of this even includes like casting websites. That's a totally different thing. We are talking about like casting directors, production companies, studios, agents, managers, things like that, opportunities, and all of the things that you can get through all of those different avenues, plus being connected to, other actors through communities and things like that, getting to know people in the workshops that you're taking, all of that. It is such a big word of mouth industry. It's like people, oh, I heard about you and I heard about, and it's like that kind of a thing. And that makes such a huge difference. So get yourself out there. You are your business and you have to treat yourself that way. You can't just rely on the creative side.
Yeah. And there is a lot of upfront cost to starting a voiceover career. Like Kelly mentioned, classes, demo, like all of these things you could be sinking thousands of dollars into, and it feels like you're just hemorrhaging money sometimes. But in theory, this is all going to pay off in the end, and this will help you start booking those jobs. Another thing you have to consider too is a home studio. And it doesn't have to be anything super fancy, but you should have, if you're going to be a working voice actor, a computer with a basic microphone. It doesn't have to be the most expensive microphone, but a decent microphone. It can be one that just plugs into your laptop or something, but you have to have something where you can get decent quality auditions at the very minimum. And then if you find you need to upgrade in the future to a more elaborate system, things like Source Connect, that can be something maybe a little down the line. But think about that as well. That's going to be equipment and costs that, it's not cheap. So that's stuff too to keep in mind as you're starting this out as well. To really be a competitive actor, you need to have some sort of setup from home in this day and age.
Yep. Yeah, it's you have to put yourself into all of that. It's like it's the financial investment. It's also the investment of time, getting a website set up, being active on social media, making the time to do the auditions. Sometimes I talk to people who are just overwhelmed and they're like, I couldn't get this one in. I didn't have time. Okay, well, that's one more potential job opportunity that is gone, so there is an investment in time and money. And I do feel like that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. Nobody wants to tell you that, you're going to spend $2,000 on classes. You're going to spend $2,000 on a demo. You're going to spend $2,000 on a home studio minimum. It's like people don't want to talk about that. And obviously, like, you can get started for less. I have seen some great, like, homemade studio setups. So then all they had to do was get the microphone to plug into their computer and good to go. Home studio, less than $500. Great. There are ways to do things, but if you are taking quality workshops, getting the proper training, you're going to be investing. If you are getting a quality demo, you are going to be investing. And those are tools that you have to have.
Yeah. So. And I kind of think of it as anything like like if you're going to college for something, if you're getting a master's degree or a PhD, that's not cheap either sometimes, but it's an investment in yourself. So kind of think of it like that too.
Yep. Yep. And, a good job can pay for all of this. It's like one good job covers your training. I've had people where it's like they've taken 4 classes with us, did their demo with us, the whole thing, invested thousands of dollars, book a job, and it paid for all of that and then some, so it's like this career can be lucrative. So it's worth it if you're willing to put in the time. That's really the biggest thing, is you can't just put in the money either. You have to be willing to put in the time and the work to get to the level that you need to be at to be competitive. So hard truth number 4 is the industry is always changing. So obviously there's the rise of AI, remote recording, a lot of shifting in industry demands, whether that is quick turnarounds, things like that. And a lot of people have had a hard time adapting to that. Some have had it easier than others. But it's things are constantly changing. And even just in trends, like, oh, they were going for this last year. Now things are looking more like this. Or, it's like you have to stay up on all of that stuff and try to change with the times. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. And again, that kind of circles back to classes and investing in that as well. A lot of actors, you don't just take a few classes at the beginning and you're good for life. You want to stay fresh and on top of things. So taking classes every now and again throughout your career is going to be good. I think of it as like, continuing education requirements that a lot of jobs have. You've every so often in certain fields, you've got to take, a certain number of hours of classes to stay on top of what's changing and what's different and what's coming up. So that's kind of what this too, so you're staying active in the education scene as well. And that's just part of, staying adaptable, keep learning, don't be afraid of technology as much as sometimes it can be frustrating or confusing, but doing your best to stay on top of different programs and things as well.
Yeah. And doing like workout groups. Our Voicecaster Insiders membership is kind of that whole thing. You know, it's $25 a month, and it's literally, we're doing workouts. We have things happening every single day, plus monthly challenges and things like that. And that's a great way to kind of stay up on things, get the workouts in, get the education, learn about trends, you know, and obviously we come from the casting side. So it's like you're getting the perspective from the people doing the casting. So it's like, yeah, you just have to stay on top of it. So often it's like I have people asking questions where they're like, oh, but we used to do it like this. And it's like, we haven't really done it like that for 5 years now. That was pre-pandemic ways. Things are a lot different now in the post-pandemic world.
It's amazing how much that changed everything in certain ways.
So much.
Yeah. All right. So hard truth number 5. There is no fast track to success. I kind of feel like we've said this in different ways up to this point, but there really is no overnight success in voiceover. I mean, you may hear stories of, oh, I booked the first audition, I ever had. Yeah, that happens, but not very often. And there's some people that it takes years to book an audition or to get an agent, and so don't let that drag you down. Again, this goes back to kind of doing your own legwork, getting out there, making those connections, doing that networking. Because persistence in the end is what's going to get you the jobs, and that's what's going to make this work for you. The longer you stick with it, the more time you invest in it, the better off you're going to be and the more competitive you're going to be. So it's like any long-term career, think about, successful CEOs and things. People don't just overnight wake up and they're the top of their field and they're making all the money. It takes time and it takes effort, and aim for the long game, and don't let it get you down when you're not booking or when you're not getting those agents. It takes time for a lot of people. So it's not any reflection on you as an actor or your talent. It's just how it is.
Set those goals and keep your eye on the goals. Don't let one single audition or one single job, if you had a rough session, anything like that, don't let that deter you. If you've got the training and you've got the skill set, know that that's going to happen. It's going to happen for you. And, it can take a while. I've seen people take 2 years to get an agent. It's like they've done all of the training. They're already auditioning for us. It's like we saw the potential. We have them on our list, but it might take 2 years to get an agent. And that sucks. But at the same time, it's like when you land that agent, you are hopefully going to be in a place where you are so ready and you start booking, and, it's just, that's when things take off. We've seen it a lot where people book, like a lot of people book their first jobs with us, and we have seen it a lot where people will book the first audition that they do. And it's like, call it beginner's luck, call it whatever you want, but it happens. And then sometimes they don't book again for another 6 months. It happens. Some people go on these streaks where it's like they're booking multiple times a month, and then they go 9 months without a job. So it takes a while. It can take several years to really be consistent. So again, it's really putting in that time, being willing to put in that time. And then, of course, knowing and trusting when it's time to let the day job go and jump in full time. Sometimes it takes people just making that leap into full time to really put in the time that they need. And then that's when the success happens. I'm not saying quit your day job right now if you're just starting out. But it is one of those things where it's like, that's kind of when the magic happens, is when you take that leap of faith and
you're also
trust
fully committing to
it's going to work out.
Everything else in your way.
Yep, exactly. Because here's the thing. As long as you have a plan B, you'll fall back on plan B. That's just kind of how life works. If you have a backup plan, most likely your backup plan is probably going to be what you end up doing. So if it's your dream, go for it. All right. So just kind of final final takeaways from all of this, and then we'll get into questions. If you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll get to those momentarily here. But the biggest thing is that voiceover is a tough industry. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It is a challenging industry. It's a hard industry to get into. It's hard to break into different genres once you are in it, but it is possible. We literally see people breaking down those barriers every single day. If it is something that you want bad enough, you can do it. I promise you that. If you are willing to put in the time and the investment in yourself, then you've got this.
Exactly. And the best way to get started or to keep that momentum going, I think, is through networking, whether it's through taking different workshops and, meeting like-minded actors or, people that can give you a leg up in your career, whether it be agents, casting directors, things like that. We have our great VC Insiders membership group, which is a great way to get support. And like Kelly was saying, we got workouts in there. We've got places where you can get feedback on demos, auditions, websites, things like that. So that can be a really great way to, it's an accountability thing, keep yourselves going and keep motivated. So things like that, and workout groups as well. There's lots of different places out there that offer those. So getting on a workout group is a great way to kind of quote unquote stay in shape, make sure you're submitting quality reads and you're doing the right stuff. So lots of ways to get out there and get feedback and make connections. And a lot of that will take you really far.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the biggest thing is have fun doing it. It's like, I always say this, but as soon as it's not fun, move on to something else. It's like, you have to enjoy and love what you're doing. You have to have a passion for it. Otherwise, do something else. Find where your passion and your love is. If it's not voiceover anymore, then it's okay to move on to something else. So it's, we only have one life to live. So follow your dreams. There's my inspiration for the day. My name is Kelly Mushinsky, and I am your life coach. Susie said, yeah, this feels like a great pep talk. There you go. And that's really the thing, is like, we want to bring you the truths. We want to tell you what to expect realistically, because I feel like so often it is sugar-coated, or it's like, you have the coaches and people out there who are also, if you're training with them, they're gonna be like, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. You're not ready to keep you training with them. Right. So it's just, we want to just make you aware of as much as we can, as you're getting into this industry or growing in this industry. So, yeah. All right. I'm going to look at the comments here and see. Oh, well, first of all, I'll highlight some of these. Candace said the Insiders group is great, learning a lot and great connection. Highly recommend. Margot said, shout out to Mastermind Workouts, and my workout buddy is, making connections, workout buddies, accountability. That is where, actors, you guys can help each other so much. It's like, you don't have to hire coaches and, things like that. You can do some of that on your own. Keep it affordable. Right? And yeah, Brandon said VC Insiders is a great group. And he said, love the monthly challenges. Yeah, right there. There's the whole. So thank you, everybody, for the shout outs. Does anybody have any questions? Anything that you're just dying to know on this lovely
Whether it's
Tuesday?
about what we talked about just now or anything in general?
Maybe anything at all. We are open books, trying to just give you guys as much information as possible. That's the reason we do these, and that's the reason we do them live and don't pre-record them all. Obviously, the interviews we pre-record for the sake of our guests, so that they're not like, what? It's live. At this point, me and Kathryn are used to just coming on and chatting with you guys, so we enjoy it. And we like to answer any questions. But yeah, I didn't see any on our social feeds this week. So And I'm not seeing any in the comments.
Group. I don't know if that's easy to access.
Oh, Brandon, here we go. Let's see. When forming an accountability or workout group, do you form it with people you just like or people who would stretch your ability? That is a great question. I would suggest both. So first of all, you want to enjoy doing it. So do it with people that you're going to have some fun with. It just makes it so much better. And I also find that if you are more comfortable with those people, then you're also going to play more and you're probably going to explore more and you're going to feel more comfortable giving each other feedback. Whereas if anybody in the group is kind of like not comfortable with that, not as fun, not as, whatever, then it can be a little more challenging because people aren't going to feel as open. They don't feel like they can give their honest feedback. So I would say it's kind of a combination of both. You want people who will be honest with you, but you also want people who are comfortable enough to be honest with you. And it's always way more fun if you like the people that you're meeting up with. I know a lot of different actors with their, they set up their groups, whether it's just 2 of them or 4 of them that meet once a month or once a week or, whatever works out. But they tend to become friends. And it's like, and then we go to these events and it's like they meet up and they get to meet each other in person if they haven't already. And, so I feel like they end up becoming pretty close as well. So that's, I'd say, making sure that you like them can help in that regard. And yes, Susie said, I love auditioning. These past few months have created amazing connections, which I really love. It's all about the connections. It really is. And, where is it? There it is. Troy said, being so finely tuned to what books and casting, have either of you ever considered being commercial voice actors? Me and Kathryn have both done some voiceover, mostly for like industrial kind of stuff. I mean, I really only did acting in high school and a little bit in college, but really directing and casting were my big things, and teaching. So I don't think I'd want to go through the grind as a voice actor. I have enough on my plate with casting and directing and teaching and all of that. So what about you, Kathryn?
I moved out here in 2006 to be an actor, and I did that for a little while. But yeah, I mean, the act of making something I loved my job sucked all the fun out of it for me. I didn't even think about voiceover when I moved out here, honestly. I kind of wish I had. Maybe things would have gone in a different direction. But by the time I had started here, I kind of put that behind me. But yeah, I never thought I had a voice for voiceover because I always thought, it's got to be, one of those pretty voices. And I was like, I just sound like me. Like, I never even thought about it. But no, well.
I've never liked my voice enough for anything.
Right?
I dread listening to myself still. So, yeah. And, it is also one thing where it's like being able to, and I see this with voice actors who are also directors, being able to direct is a very different talent than being able to actually like do it yourself.
Put it into motion yourself.
Because there are times when it's like, I know, like I said, I do some industrial stuff here and there. And it's like, sometimes I will do it and I'll be like, I know how I would direct somebody else, but it's hard to get yourself to that place. So it's like, even knowing the trends, would we book any of the work? Who knows? I probably sound too much like somebody's ex-wife. No, casting and directing is where it's at for me. For auditions with scratch tracks included, how closely should we match the track? Oh, golly.
Like sometimes they say like this is for tone or pacing, or this is so you can, they don't want you to match it. It's just to kind of for your information. So kind of glean what you need from it, but usually they don't want you to match it.
If it confuses you, then just disregard it altogether because your read is going to show that you're confused versus just Like, go with your instinct, trust you're doing what you need to be doing, and call it good. I know there was a project a couple weeks ago that we sent out, and they insisted that we send the reference, and the reference confused everybody. I got so many emails, and so many of those emails I was like, yep, had to send it, ignore it. And it really was like, they're like, we want 4 different takes. And then you hear the reference and they're not doing anything different on any of the takes. So, there things like that happen. So yeah, it's really a matter of do what you can with it. If it helps, great. If it doesn't, then don't worry about it. Now, if there's a track for animation because they are trying to voice match something, that's different, but they should say voice match versus like a sound alike. So sometimes in commercials we'll be like, oh, we want a Morgan Freeman sound alike. It's like, okay, so somebody who sounds like him, but it cannot be an exact match for legal reasons. It cannot be an exact match. His legal team will come after the agency and try to protect his likeness.
Someone who's got that deep, rich storyteller voice is what they're looking for. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. All right. What is your thought on websites, LinkedIn, and making them all about VO? I keep getting different opinions. Should your website be VO only, or can you mention your other career skills? So here's the thing. My theory is keep it acting/entertainment related. So if you are a voice actor as well as on-camera actor, you could have that mentioned. That's a good thing. If you also do voice directing or you direct for the theater, that is also useful. But if you are a private chef or a private trainer at a gym, probably would not include those because they're too outside the box. And then what that looks like, as people look at that, like, oh, okay, that's their day job. That's how they make their money. Voiceover is just a hobby right now. You want people to think like, nope, you do voiceover. Voiceover is your job. That is your career. That is what you do. So if it's related, that'd be okay. If not, I would keep them separate. Both websites and
somebody had this question, LinkedIn. I think last week about LinkedIn and if you could have multiple profiles, so you could have a voiceover only LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, that was in the membership group.
Yeah, you can do that. So that could be helpful.
Yep. Excellent. Susie, what are your favorite annual conferences? I mean, VO Atlanta is like, it's the top. It's the largest and longest running.
Now, in all fairness, I think we've only been to 2.
Yes. I will say, like, we haven't been to One Voice yet, either US or UK. So it's like, and Mavo is actually a new one for us, but we are a platinum sponsor for them this year. We will be going. So I'm excited to check that out because that is a boutique conference, which is exciting because instead of 1,000 people at VO Atlanta, there's like 100 at Mavo. So that's the Mid-Atlantic Voiceover Conference. So so it's so hard to say because it's like the boutique style could be great because we can actually like get a chance to talk to people a little bit more. VO Atlanta is great because there are so many different things as far as panels, breakout sessions.
There's always something going on.
Yeah. Yes, it's very busy. There are a lot of people to network with, and the panels are incredible. That's how me and Kathryn spent most of our time at VO Atlanta.
You just sat there and just listened all day to people talk about different things, which
so much to learn.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to a lot. We will definitely report back on Mavo, but I've heard nothing but good things, and I'm excited to support them. So yeah. All right. And Candace, when you get an audition with a voice reference, is it important to try to match the energy tone of the reference or do your interpretation of the written specs? Yeah, I see your next comment was, you answered my question, I think. Yeah, so it's like, hopefully they will
makes
tell you like this reference is for the tone or this reference is for the pacing. So then you can hopefully just listen to it just for that. Sometimes they'll give you, you know, a like the scratch in the, you know, with the bed of music or something so that you can just hear the music. It's not really even about the scratch of the voice. So yeah, try to elaborate that on that a little bit more. And okay, Isabella, thank you for answering. Side note, LinkedIn only allows one profile. Okay, that, you know what? That is something that somebody was talking about, and they were saying that, like, yeah, so on LinkedIn, it's like, the thing with LinkedIn is you can make most of your posts voiceover related, so that's really the focus. Even if you have something else going on, it's like everybody has like all of their different jobs listed, right? So it's like we know that somebody worked at whatever store or restaurant for however many years, and then they moved into a production assistant job, and then they moved into this, and then they were repped by this person, you know. So it's one of those things that it's totally fine to have it with both. And you can put like, I am a voice actor and personal chef, you know, like I'm using the personal chef
Must be
example,
lunchtime.
but whatever it is. I think it's because I've been dealing with like the food stuff for the Voicecaster party. Tickets are going on sale soon for our anniversary bash, but I've been dealing with that, so it's my example today, I guess. All right, Troy said, is there a type of commercial you each particularly like casting, medical, dinner product, and why?
I mean, the more character stuff is always more fun, just because the nature of it, you know, it tends to be something different and out of the box. But all of them are kind of fun in their own way.
Yeah, I agree. It's like character stuff is fun, but I also like, you know, I like the like PSAs, you know, some of the heartfelt stuff. I also like just some of the more straightforward kind of stuff is fun too. You know, it's like I love a good funny script. But I also just love, you know, if the script is written really well, especially if they're asking for conversational and the script is written really well, I love those because people can actually bring their personality to it. And that is, I mean, that's the biggest thing that stands out to me when I'm casting is, you know, really listening for personality and somebody having fun with the script and understanding it. And I feel like that comes out in it, and it helps. I mean, you have to, as an actor, you have to make that happen, whether you have a good script to work with or not. But sometimes when a script is really well written, it just makes it even more fun for us to listen to.
And I miss back in the day when we were doing stuff in person, when you'd get a good partner read. And you'd have two people playing off each other in the booth. Those were always a good time.
So much fun. Like, I mean, we'd be laughing the whole day.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Working on those things with like people coming up with different things. Oh, yeah. Good old days. Now everybody reads by themselves.
Even the jobs aren't always.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Isabella. She said your breakout this year at VOA was amazing. Thank you again. Yeah, we had fun doing that. We always love to give you guys the inside scoop and share with you as much as we possibly can. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. And hopefully you get a little something out of it. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. So we'll wrap up for today. And last Friday of the month, we will be having our next interview. We will be announcing who that is shortly. So keep an eye on our social medias and all that stuff. Facebook, Instagram, all that. And yeah, feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions, and hopefully we will see you all soon.
Bye.